Hey, this is Dean with Gain. So goals, there's nothing more powerful than setting goals. And, from the examples there, you saw that they had, an unbelievable certainty they created. And that burning desire combined with that definiteness of purpose created this ultimate certainty. But that's only one aspect of it. You can't just will yourself to accomplish these goals. The second part is having a defined plan, and that's what I really want to talk to you about here in this video, is having a definite plan. And the way to do that is by creating SMART goals. So there was pun intended when we said dumb goals. It wouldn't be dumb goals, but SMART, you may have heard of that before, that acronym. SMART being specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So first step, like I said, is you got to have that ultimate certainty that it's going to happen. The world tends to flow in your direction when you have that unbelievable certainty. You start kind of walking with a posture that things are already going to happen, and like water, things kind of flow from it. But the second token is having a plan and having these goals set up as SMART goals to hold you accountable, making sure you're taking the proper action and proper steps to make them happen. So I just want to go through some examples using the SMART technology to further explain what I mean. So the S, specific, in dealing with a lot of sales associates over the years, a lot of employees, a common term I've used with them is be more specific when they were talking about their goals. So for an example, in the health and wellness industry, plenty of people say they want to lose weight. Well, that's not really specific enough. How much weight do you want to use? How much in pounds you want to lose? Is it body fat percentage? What body fat percentage would you like to get down to? Measurable goals in athletics. If you want a vertical jump increase, instead of saying I want to jump higher, take your vertical from one point to the next in measurements 40 times, as far as just saying faster. Weights, actual weight numbers. There's just a number of things, but you have to be very specific, not only in something you can measure, which we're going to get to, but in a timely fashion as well, which we'll also get to. So specificity is key with goals. You can't be specific enough with these goals, whether they're short-term or long-term. And you always have to ask that question yourself when you create them, is this specific enough? The M is measurable, as we alluded to. You have to be able to measure it. So if someone says, I want to lose 10 pounds, it's pretty easy to measure, the before and after. If they want to say, I want to get from 10 to 5% body fat, pretty easy to measure. If they just say, I want to get better, that general statement, very, very difficult to measure. The A is attainable. And as much as we talk about kind of shooting for the stars and having that ultimate certainty and going really, really big, which I'm a firm believer in, there are some things that aren't quite attainable, don't make a whole lot of sense. So for an example, if you're 50 years old, male, never played football your entire life, and you have a goal to play in the NFL, probably not really attainable, not real realistic. You'd want something more attainable. So there are some stretch things like that just don't seem to make a whole lot of sense. And so you just want to give it that litmus test to make sure it's on the same playing field. R is relevant. Is it relevant to the overall good of what you're trying to accomplish? And I really like to hone in on, is it really yours? So we see a lot of times people create goals for other people, whether it's a boss, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a parent, what they want them to do. I'm going to go to college because my parents told me to do it. Get a degree, I'm going to go to dental school, I'm going to go, I'm going to be a doctor, whatever it is, or I want to play this sport, get the scholarship. Is it truly their goal? Is it truly what they want? When you evaluate your goals, that's the main question, is what do I want? Not what someone else wants. And if it's a short-term goal, will this get me closer to my final destination of really what I want to accomplish? And so that's what the relevancy is all about. Make sure it's yours, and make sure it makes sense in the grand scheme of things of what you're trying to accomplish. When we think of T, we think of timeliness. And, there's an old saying that there's no unrealistic goals, there's only unrealistic time frames and deadlines. So, again, going back to the first example, if someone wants to go from 10% body fat to 5% body fat, if they say, well, I do it in a week, that's an unrealistic time frame. But if they don't set a time frame, that's a big issue too. You can't just say, put it out there whenever it's going to happen. You have to have the deadline that sets up your plan of action throughout. and you have some accountability factors there. So you definitely have to have an end time. It has to make sense. It's so key, it's so critical, because if you don't, follow through is very, very difficult. So again, specific can't be specific enough. Measurable, how do you measure it? Is it attainable? Does it make sense compared to really what you're asking to do? Is it relevant? Is it yours? Does it fit to the grand scheme of things? And is it timely? Do you have a deadline? And does that deadline make sense? If you follow those principles, those SMART principles, you're well on your way to creating great, great goals. Well, you have great action items to accomplish these things. A couple things I'd add to spice it up is you should always share these. When you write down these goals and you make sure they're SMART goals and your mind's right and you have the ultimate certainty, you need to share it with people of influence, people you look up to, people that are mentors to you, your closest friends and family. It's another point of accountability. It makes it more real. It puts it out there. You don't want your goals to be secret. And another part, I say, celebrate the wins. You know, sometimes you have a long stretch goal, that time frame ending maybe in a year or longer. You got to have little wins throughout. So when you accomplish certain short-term goals and action items that you set forth, celebrate them any way you can, but you need to celebrate the wins and have fun with it. So those are my tips. Like I said, there's nothing more powerful than goals. There's nothing more fun to try to accomplish them and not